Today is a very important day for the building trades unions, for our contractor partners, John Moriarty Associates, Davis Companies, everyone who's putting this site together in this important day to tackle recovery as a team, to make sure that we're leading with compassion and giving every person a chance to support themselves and their families, no matter what they're facing on an everyday basis. So just to very quickly start, my name is Brian Doherty, and I have the great opportunity to represent the building trades unions here in the Boston region. And today we're going to do three segments actually. Over to my right, to your left, we have resources available, information for all of our recovery programs. And if you're a tradesperson here today and you'd like to learn more, please go speak to all of the training, all of the recovery programs that are over to my right and to your left. Another component of today's activities is I'm going to invite up Allie Hunter from PARI to give us a tutorial on what it means to have Narcan on a job site to make sure we have fast-acting efforts if we need it in the case of an emergency, and other resources PARI can provide. So if I can ask Allie Hunter to come up, please, that'd be great. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. You guys want to come up? So I'm going to have my team come up as well. Okay. Awesome. So again, my name is Allie Hunter. I'm the Executive Director of PARI, the Police Assisted Addiction and Recovery Initiative. It's an honor to be here today to help establish a recovery-friendly worksite and support all of you in your work. So I have my team here with me. This is Steve, who's one of our recovery coaches, Anita, who's a recovery coach. We have John, who's our co-founder and board chair, and Officer Josh De La Rosa, who's part of the outreach unit with Boston Police Department. So first, I think I'm going to introduce John to say a couple quick words about how we got here today.
Hi, I'm John Rosenthal, co-founder of the Police Assisted Addiction and Recovery Initiative. We're simply a law enforcement-based access to treatment to help people struggling with the disease of opioid addiction, which in Massachusetts results in more death than car accidents and gun violence combined. Last year, 72,000 Americans died from opioid overdoses, and if not for Narcan, the overdose reversing drug that you're going to learn about today, that 72,000 would be 700,000 bodies in a year, if not for Narcan. So the building trades have been impacted more than most, like the fishing industry, because of its danger and so many ways to get hurt, as you know better than I. So what we have done is partnered with John Moriarty Associates, world-class human being and contractor, to provide Narcan on site and access to resources and recovery to help while we help solve legislatively, this crisis that is raging in America. So this is all about getting people healthy. And there's only two options with the disease of addiction, as we all know, that affects every family, including mine, and I know yours. It's long-term treatment or death. And you can't get anybody into treatment if they're dead. And the only way we're going to solve this is provide immediate access to Narcan to reverse overdoses while we create a system of long-term recovery like exists for every other disease, heart disease, cancer, diabetes. You go to the emergency room, you get help. The stigma, shame, and blame associated with addiction often keeps people, one, from asking for help, and two, from getting help. So we are breaking down barriers, and we are reducing stigma, and we're providing access to treatment while we get our elected officials on board to create the same system for long-term recovery that exists for the chronic disease of addiction like every other disease. Thank you, John Moriarty and Associates, for your leadership. Thank you, Mayor Walsh, for your amazing leadership. And you live in a state where you're more likely to get help, and we need to expand that and we need to save lives. And thanks for being here.
Okay, great. So I'm going to get a little bit into the Narcan training component. Steve's holding a little bit of a sign over here that might be difficult to see, but we also have resources on this table over here if you'd like to take them home with you so that you have them. So real quick, this is kind of the 5-minute version. There could be a longer training as well. So again, follow up with us if you'd like more. Opioids attach to your structures in your brain called opioid receptors, and those send signals to block pain. They slow your breathing, they calm your body. So you might be familiar with some of the prescription opioids, OxyContin, oxycodone, Percocet, Vicodin, things like that. About 80% of people who end up using heroin and illicit opioids start with a prescription. So just something to keep in mind if you are prescribed an opioid for pain. You might want to think about having Narcan available as well. So about 80% of opioid overdoses are accidental. And one of the things we really want to promote is the idea that everybody can be a first responder by carrying Narcan. If somebody experiences an opioid overdose, you have just a few minutes, as little as 6 minutes to get to that person before their brain starts to be affected and they would potentially die. So it's really important, no matter who you are, to think about carrying Narcan with you on the site, no matter where you go. I have it in my bag with me at all times. And it's very important because you could save somebody's life with this. So the signs of an overdose. You might notice slow or irregular breathing, not responding to touch. The center part of their eye might be kind of pinpointed. Their pupils might be pinpointed. Their fingernails and their fingers might turn blue or gray. The heartbeat might be slower, kind of low blood pressure. So if you think you're seeing somebody overdose, you want to think about administering Narcan. One of the important things to know about Narcan is that it cannot hurt anybody. If they're not overdosing and you administer Narcan, it's not going to do any harm. So when in doubt, think about administering Narcan and be ready. So kind of the quick version of what to do. First, you want to see if you can kind of wake them up. Ask if they're okay. You could shake their shoulders. You could do something called a sternum rub, which is kind of making a fist, rubbing their sternum. You could do the same kind of thing under their nose. So see if you can get them to wake up. Again, look for them not responding. Look for slow breath, their eyes kind of being pinpointed. And if you think they may be overdosing, lay them on their back if it's safe to do so. So Narcan comes in a container with 2 doses. It will look something like this. So what you're going to do is remove it from the box, peel back this metal part right here, and you're going to end up with the nasal spray that looks like this. Okay, this is 4 milligram Narcan, which is made by a company named Adapt Pharma. This is the standard that we recommend that people carry because it's a higher dosage and it's easier to use. So there is 2 milligram Narcan available. There's some different devices that deliver it, but we find this is both the easiest to use and it's a higher potency, so that's why we recommend it. So it's pretty simple. You hold it like this, put your thumb on the bottom, insert it into the nose, and press the plunger. What you want to do is actually administer Narcan and then call 911. Again, because of the high potency of drugs that are available, you want to make sure you're delivering Narcan as quickly as possible. So you want to administer Narcan, then call 911. In between the first, after delivering the first dose, you want to administer rescue breaths. And then if they're still not responsive, you'll have a second dose of Narcan that you can administer in the other nostril. Again, you want to wait 2 to 3 minutes between doses, give rescue breaths in between. You always want to call 911. Even if you do reverse the overdose and the person comes to, they still need medical attention. They might go back into that overdose without using again after about 60 minutes. So they still need emergency services. So again, call for medical help after that first dose. If you are waiting a little bit, you want to put somebody on their side in what's called the recovery position so that they aren't going to choke. And watch that person closely, stay with them. If you want to give them a little space, you can, but if you're able to continue administering rescue breaths, we encourage you to do that. One of the things that's part of a Narcan kit that we make available as well is a face shield and gloves, if you'd like to use those as well. If you have more doses of Narcan, you could keep administering it, alternating nostrils, and depending on the potency of the drug on board, they might need more. So again, that's just a very quick version of how to administer Narcan and how to identify an overdose. And if you want more information about how to get Narcan, we have information over there. In Massachusetts, there's what's called a standing order, which means you can go to any pharmacy and get Narcan without a prescription. And you'll use your insurance, so whatever your copay is, that will be the cost. For me, it's free. So think about if you could get Narcan and carry it on you. Again, you might be the first person that somebody encounters when they're overdosing, whether it's on the job site or out and about in your daily activities. We encourage you to really have that with you. So with that, I wanted to also talk about some of the recovery support services that we have. Through a partnership with AmeriCorps, we've established a recovery corps here in Massachusetts and actually now nationwide, where AmeriCorps members are placed in police departments to help assist them in their efforts. So both Anita and Steve are recovery coaches with Boston Police Department. They work really closely with Officer Della Rosa and both do outreach and overdose follow-ups and support people through various initiatives. So I'm going to have them really quickly just come up and introduce themselves and talk about what they do and how you can get help if you'd like it for yourself or a loved one. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anita, and I'm a recovering addict. I'm not your typical addict, the kind you would see on the street or anything like that. I was just like you. I got up and went to work every single day and went home and used. So for the better part of my life, I would say about 15, maybe 17 years, I was living a double life. 2 years into my recovery, I decided that I wanted to give back what was so freely given to me, so I left my comfortable job and I came into this field and I started to do street outreach first with my church and then with PARI, and I realized that those addicts on the streets were the same as me, even though they'd lived a different life and their addiction and recovery was different than mine. As I got to know them and build relationships with them, I realized that they were just like me. They were lost, they were lonely, they were confused, and no one that I've ever talked to in the last 4 years ever told me that they wanted to grow up and be a drug addict. It's just not how it happened. Something happened to them along the way, the same way something happened to me. No woman ever said to me that she wanted to grow up and be a prostitute. No one ever said to me that they wanted to grow up and rob their families or anything like that. So it was really encouraging to me to know that Allie and John and the police wanted to do something to help these people that were out there on the streets, and I was so blessed to be a part of it. So as I build relationships with these people, I come to learn to know who they are and what they really want in life, and they really just want to be better, and they just don't know how to do that without the help of recovery coaches, the programs that we have listed over there on that table. There is help out there for those who need it, so please don't be shy. Just come over and talk to us. So thanks.
Hi, my name is Steve. I'm a recovering heroin addict. I would not be here today if it wasn't for PARI and AmeriCorps. I was an active drug user for over 20 years. I was lost. I lost everything. I lost my wife, my kids, my family, my jobs, my freedom, and the trust of everybody that I knew. I thought my life was over. So I tried to make my life over. I tried committing suicide because of my addiction. And, I believe there's two ways out of addiction. There's either one, you're either going to die, or two, you're going to get clean and live the rest of your life. So I decided to pick two, and I called the Gloucester Police Department, which is where PARI originated, and they pointed me in the right direction. And I went to detox, and now, as of January 1st, I will be 4 years clean from heroin. So I felt that, PARI gave me my life back. So they deserve for me to come out and try to help others in the Boston area. I work for I serve for the downtown Boston Police Department. I go to Government Center, MGH, Downtown Crossing, that whole area, which the war is going on down there. So I go down there and I try to talk to people. If I can get through to one person, my life is better. And, it helps me stay sober. And if I bring someone along with me, that's a plus. And that's why I'm here today, because I like to, I want to stay sober. I'm getting things back in my life, and everybody in this world deserves a chance at life. Because, like I said, I would not be here if it wasn't for PARI. Thank you.
Good morning and God bless you all. I'm Officer Josh De La Rosa. I was never addicted to any opioids, but I come from a family that did abuse drugs, did abuse alcohol, generations of alcoholism. And I remember being 20, I was falling under the same bondage. For a whole entire year, I pretty much drunk every single day from the age of 20 to 21. I was underage drinking. For a whole entire year, I was bound by alcoholism. I found my way into recovery, and to this day, I haven't fell back into that bondage. Now, as a police officer, I'm also a certified recovery coach. We've been able to partner with PARI, and now we engage individuals out in the streets. My main focus is when I have somebody in front of me is I try to change the way they think. I tell them that they were not created to be a drug addict, that they were not designed to be bound by a substance. And now what I do is once I convince them, because we have plenty of resources to get them out of the streets into treatment, once I convince them to get them into treatment, we take them anywhere in the state as long as they stay clean. Even if I have to take time out of my shift to take them out to New York, I'll take them out to New York. Whatever it takes to get somebody into recovery, that is my position in the police department. Right now, we also partnered with the DA's office for low-level offenses. Anybody that has a low-level offense that's tied with their addiction, we've been able to work out where they can opt out to seek further treatment versus jail. And I think that's an amazing thing. Addiction has hit everybody, not everybody, but everybody's home. Addiction has hit a lot of our family members, a lot of our friends, and we each have to take a part in this. It takes a village, it takes a team. So whenever you come across somebody, always plant the seed to seek treatment. God bless you all.
So again, that's PARI's kind of bit about, we encourage you to carry Narcan. We hope you'll stop by and learn more about our recovery services, and you can reach out to any of the recovery coaches behind me if you need help for yourself or a loved one and you just don't know where to turn. So thank you for having us here today, and best of luck. I think we'll call up the next speaker in just a couple minutes. Thanks. Or, yeah.
Good morning. Temperamental microphone. On behalf of John Moriarty Associates and the project's ownership team led by the Davis Companies, I have Brian Fallon from the Davis Companies up here with me. Thank you for taking the time today to support the opioid stand down put on by the building trades and the trade unions. The opioid addiction crisis and the potentially devastating mental and physical health issues it is impacting our population with has no favorites. It is affecting every spectrum of our society. I'm sure all of us here have been impacted on a personal level at some point in seeing the horrific impacts of this terrible disease. However, it is disproportionately hitting our construction industry. John Moriarty Associates works very hard to provide a healthy, safe, and welcoming job environment for all the men and women of the trades that work for us. We have benefited greatly over the past 30-plus years from a very highly skilled, trained, professional, and safe union workforce. And so when the building trades and the trade unions asked us today to support this event, JMA and the Davis Companies had no hesitation in providing what we can to support this effort. And with that, I'd like to kick off today's speaking program and introduce Tom Gunning from the building trades to say a few words.
Welcome and thank you all for coming. First, I'd like to thank John Moriarty Associates, John Moriarty himself, Chris Brown, Jamie Noon, and Brian Goff for making this all happen. Brian did an excellent job out here today. I'd also like to thank our labor partners and Brian Doherty for making this all come to fruition today. To give you a little background on myself, I grew up working in the trades during college and after college. But 3 years ago, I overdosed again. I spent the next 8 days in the ICU in a hospital bed up the street learning how to breathe again, because that's what drugs and alcohol took away from me, my breath. Fast forward a year later, after a lot of hard work and relying on a power greater than myself and a program of action, I was back working in the field as a member of Local 223 in the Labor's Union. My biggest fear of those 10 years was coming forward and asking for help. I had so much fear that people were going to think less of me, they were going to think I'm a wimp, I was going to lose my job. I couldn't do it. I say that to you guys because it doesn't have to get that bad. We're here to tell you today that if you're struggling and you need help, it's okay to ask for help. Just come forward. We'll get you into detox. We'll get you into treatment. We'll get you the help you need, and we'll get you back to work as soon as possible or when you're ready. A couple months ago, we hosted a Building Trades for Recovery Week. And, you know, when we were organizing it, my fear was I was going to have a hard time getting labor and management on the same page. But once I introduced the topic, everybody gravitated towards it and everybody wanted to help. And it was unbelievable. And so today, you have, from the top down, everybody sending one clear message. You have the mayor of the city. You have the general contractor in John Moriarty. You have all the subcontractors, and you have the building trades unions here telling you guys that if you're out there struggling and you need help, we're here to help you. Just let us know. Every day in Massachusetts, 5 people die from an opioid overdose. If you do the math, that's 2,000 people a year dying of overdoses. Construction workers have been hit hard by this epidemic. We are 6 times more likely to get addicted to opiates and overdose because of the nature of our work. How many, I want everyone to raise your hand, how many of you out there today know somebody who has overdosed or is affected by substance abuse today? That's almost everybody. Look around you. It's clear the statistics are not in our favor. But it's also clear that this disease does not discriminate. I'd like us all to take a moment of silence to honor those that we've lost in this fight to addiction, those that are in recovery and those that are still struggling. Thank you. When you guys leave here today, I encourage you all to continue the conversation. Help one another out. Pick your coworkers up. Don't bring them down. Thank you. The next guy I'm going to introduce is a guy that I used to call all the time when I was struggling. He's the executive director and president of Modern Assistance Program. He's the EAP for 80% of the trades here today. They do amazing work. I can't tell you what he's done for me, but please welcome John Christian up to the stage.
Good morning. I want to talk a little bit about some positive things. Number one, treatment works. And there's a ton of treatment in Massachusetts. One of the biggest barriers people have to getting into treatment is that they don't have insurance that covers it. And I look around this, I look at all the people here today. You have amazing health and welfare programs that your union leadership provides for you, which means you have the insurance if you need to get in. You also have employee assistance and labor assistance professionals. There's a list over there of people you can call to get you into treatment. So that barrier doesn't exist for you. Another barrier that's huge is economics. People are afraid of losing their jobs. This is amazing. When you have owners and contractors who are willing to say, if you're in trouble and you go get treatment, you can come back to work, that changes the whole landscape. And I applaud what labor and management has done for something like this to happen. It's absolutely amazing. Another thing I want to mention is, as a person in recovery, and I know there's tons of people in recovery on this site, and I'm not going to out you, but often we hear, oh, you don't understand, everybody on the job site gets high. And we all know that's not true. There's lots of people here who are sober. And in the recovery world, we've been used to anonymity, and I respect that. And if you feel that you need to protect your anonymity, I respect that 100%. However, getting past the stigma, if you have a coworker, if you have a brother or sister in your trade who knows that you're in recovery, it might just take away a little bit of the fear and allow them to step away from that isolation, because addiction loves isolation. So if you're willing to do that, you might be saving someone else's life. The last thing I want to mention is, as people working in the trades, your number one tool is your body. Your number one tool is your body. You all work hard. You will get injured at some point. And at some point, you're going to be in front of a doctor. And there's been a lot of press lately, Big Pharma getting sued, doctors getting in trouble for being unscrupulous. But the bottom line is, if you go to a doctor and you've got pain, it's your responsibility to ask that doctor, what are you prescribing for me? Is it addictive? What are the side effects? How long am I going to be on it? And is there an alternative? That's your duty and your responsibility. Just because the person wears a white coat, frankly, it was a lot of those people in white coats that were saying these drugs weren't addictive that have now killed scores and scores of people. So keep that in mind when you go to the doctor. It's your body. You're in control of it. This is a wonderful thing. There's lots of help. Please, please reach out for help. The only bad phone call you make is the one you don't make. If you're in trouble, somebody you know is in trouble, reach out. There's lots of help here. Thank you all, and God bless.
Thanks, John. Just before I introduce our next speaker, I'd just like everyone to take a look behind me and look at the banner and look at all of the trade unions that have made the commitment to support this effort to provide resources to all of our tradespeople out there working on the job site. So thankful for all the unions for being a part of this. Next, I'd like to ask up George Kelly. George is a laborer with Local 223 and is also the steward on our Echelon job across the street. George?
Morning, everybody. It was great hearing the previous speakers. Like I said, my name's George Kelly. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. And this subject is true to me. You know, I started at a young age, and you know, I started out drinking and drugging, and I come from an alcoholic family background, and I started drinking at a young age. But the booze and the cocaine got rid of early when I'm in my teens, and I started using the pills. Because I grew up in Savin Hill in the corner of a bar where everybody hung. And you could get whatever you wanted at the bar room. And by the time I was like 19, I was already into doing perks, Valiums, all the stuff I said I wouldn't try. But that's the addictive personality that I have, and that's what I started doing. And as things went on, I hung with the older guys in the corner. I get introduced to heroin. And for me, I was working at the time. I mean, I'm a proud member of the Laborers 223 Union. They've always had my back. And when I was starting to struggle with this disease, and I'd have to go to Martin and Tom Beatty at the time for help, I started my journey in detoxes. But I started going to meetings, but I never committed. I didn't trust nobody. I didn't want to tell someone my story, and then again, it's out in the street like people say. And little did I know, I went on a 7-year run of using heroin, and always said I wouldn't stick a needle in my arm, and that happened to me. And the destruction and devastation that I did to my family, the people that love me, I became unemployable. I couldn't get a job because it was because of me. People were trying to help me, Martin, Patrick, my sponsor, people in the union were trying to gravitate to get me help. But it came to me in '94. I was down to 130 pounds. I've already OD'd a couple of times. I've lost 5 friends to this disease of addiction. And I said to myself, do I want to live or die? And I picked up the phone. I made a phone call, and I went up to Spectrum in Westboro. They had a detox at the time. I went into the detox. And by this time, I was in like 17, 18 places, but I finally felt it in my heart, right here, that I wanted to get sober. And I went to the detox, and I was offered to go up to the residential program. And off I went up to the residential program. I started my journey. I spent 6 months up there, the whole summer of '94, just plugging in to listen to what Alcoholics Anonymous and recovery can do for you. And I stuck that program out. When I graduated that program, I felt like I accomplished something in my life. I came back to Savin Hill. I came back to my father's house, and everybody was still on that corner using, drinking, drugging, everything. I had to walk through them fears. I had to pick up the phone. I had to talk to people that were in the program that I cling to, because I was scared to death to walk in that corner, because I knew these guys would be looking at me. What are you doing, George? What's up? How you doing? I just kept trucking. I joined a group. I joined the Pope's Hill group. I became active. I started making the coffee. I met my wife in the program. Life took off for me. I got a job. I was able to get my job back. That my business manager helped me through my recovery. He was able to trust me to make me the steward over there at the Boston Convention Center. And the people in my union stuck by me, didn't throw me to the curb. And it's like they say, help somebody. We preach it, and it's said at our meetings that help the person that's struggling, that needs help. There's a lot of people in our business that doesn't say nothing. They don't say nothing at all, because they hide that shit, they hide that stuff inside. They don't want to let it out. They don't want to talk to people. But believe me when I tell you, I thought I would never pick up drugs again in my life. And back in 2004, I had a foot problem. I couldn't walk. It was killing me. I was working all kinds of hours, and it came into my mind that I could talk to my doctor to prescribe me Percocets. And sure enough, the good alcoholic and addict that I am, I took them prescribed for 3 days, and then I started using again with pills. Never went back to the other stuff, but I went on a run for 6 months. And I thought I was invisible, that I was the only one that was fooling it. Everyone knew, my agent, everyone knew what I was doing but me. Until I finally, one night I came downstairs from Annapolis, I was going to work nights. My poor wife and 8 people from my group were sitting in my kitchen. They were having an intervention on me, and I just broke down crying because I wanted to save myself. Was I ready that night? I wasn't ready that night. It took a couple of days, but off I went back to Gosnell in 2004, and I had to get reprogrammed. I had to click with the right people, get active in my group again, and become a member of society again. And to this day, it's over 15 years ago, I've been blessed. I've been blessed. And as they say, this program's a day at a time. I'm so grateful that my union stood behind me, the people that trusted me, that love me, and I love them. And you know, in our union now, we have 3 members that are part of recovery specialists that go out, and we call them, they're there for us to help people out. We've helped people on certain jobs that need help. Don't be afraid to talk to me on my job or talk to any other steward. Talk to your business managers. Like they said, we're here to help. And like they said, you're not worried about your job. We're worried about you. We're worried about that you survived this disease. Because like I said, there's people dying right now that are suffering from this disease. And I'm so privileged to be standing where I am. And for people in my life today, it's second to none. I'll be leaving tonight to go to an AWOL meeting tonight. And that's how I live my life. A day at a time, I stay close to AA. Thank you.
Before I introduce the next speaker, I just want to point out that there's these informational pamphlets out there that provide information for all of the various support resources that are available through the union trades in Pari. So I ask you all to grab one on your way out. Brian Doherty has a handful, and there's other people handing them out. With that, I would like to introduce our next speaker. He is the business manager for the Iron Workers Local 7, Sean Neely.
Gotta lower this. Good morning. My name's Sean Neely, business manager for Iron Workers Local 7. I'm here today to speak for all the building trades. All your representatives are here. They all care. We all want to help you. Like everybody said, there's help available. Please check over at that table when we're done here. I'm just gonna talk quickly about what happened with me. I woke up one day to go to work, tied my boots, never thinking that that day I was gonna get hurt and wind up a drug addict for almost 10 years. I hurt my back. I went to the doctor. They put me on the pills, told me to go to physical therapy for 6 months. Physical therapy didn't work. They finally gave me an MRI. I have 2 herniated discs. You're gonna need an operation. But you have to get 3 epidural shots first to see if that works. So there's another 3 or 4 months I'm on the pills. I'm addicted already. I don't have a choice anymore. I have to get high. And like Georgie said, in the beginning, I was getting away with it, but the middle and the end, I was just fooling myself. I wanted to stop. When I was sober, I wanted to be high. When I was high, I wanted to be sober. It was like being in the middle of a tornado that I just felt like I couldn't get out of. The love of my children, the love of my wife, my own home, my job, none of that mattered. I rolled the dice every day to get high because I didn't have a choice. I went to work every day because, you know what, like a lot of you guys here, I needed 600 hours every 6 months so that my family had insurance, so I could keep the roof over my kid's head, so I could put food on the table. And that was that's what motivated me to go to work every day, hurt, and use the pills. But at the end, it was the emotional pain outweighed the physical pain. And it wasn't until I reached out to get help from Modern Assistance, because I tried 100 times on my own and 100 times I failed. I couldn't get it. I finally reached out to John Christian, Modern Assistance, and I'm coming up on a lot of years sober again. And we just want you to understand how much help there is out there. All you have to do is pick up the phone. I know it looks like it weighs 1,000 pounds sometimes, and you don't want to reach out for that help, but pick up the phone and make a phone call. There's people you can trust. I know Iron Workers. You can call me directly. You know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do anything I can to help you. And that's what every other representative from the building trades will do for you, is help you. Get you the help you need. Put your family back together. Because I know at the end, the words were said to me, I can't watch, my wife sat me and my 2 kids down at the table and said, we can't watch you die a little bit every day. You either get help or you gotta go. And that struck a chord with me. And I want to speak about something else. If you're at home and you're struggling with a loved one that's suffering from this disease, believe me, I've just gone through it. Went on the phone more with John Christian in the last year and a half than I've been with anybody. I had Narcan at the house. Worried every night, am I going to get the phone call? We've buried 4 iron workers since May. And it's not, we go out one more time and get into a detox. You don't know what you're getting on the street today. It's you go out one more time. We're not calling a detox. Your family's calling a funeral parlor to put you in the ground. And I'm sick of burying my friends. I'm sick of burying iron workers. This disease is going to stop. And I get up here to speak to try to stop the stigma, because there's so many people that want to reach out for help and they're afraid to. Don't be afraid to reach out. Please, don't be afraid. We got the best programs in the world here for you. And, you know, if you have a loved one at home, again, please reach out. Don't try to, I second guess myself. Is it my fault? What did I do wrong? I'd call John and just rail about how it was my fault, what was going on at my house. And you know what, it's not my fault. It's just the way things are right now today. And like I said, I don't know, please reach out for help if you need it. Thank you. Forgot the most important part. I get the honor to introduce somebody today. Sorry about that. Now, this is a guy who never forgot where he came from. He battled his own demons with alcohol and he stayed sober. He really, truly cares about people. And I know that for a fact. I know that firsthand. He's gone out of his way to help people that I know. So I want to introduce the Mayor of Boston, Martin J. Marty Walsh.
Thank you, Sean, and I want to thank Sean for sharing his story. I want to thank George for sharing his story. That's powerful stuff. I want to thank Tom Gunning, who put this together and did an amazing job, taking his own struggles and turning it into a positive. I want to thank John Moriarty and the Davis companies. I want to thank Lisa Whalen from Massport is here, the new director of Massport. To all the business managers that are here, thank you. To the press that's covering this event, thank you for being here today. As Sean said, my name is Marty. I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober for a little bit. My first construction job was on the other side of this garage, the World Trade Center. I was 18 years old. My father dropped me off at 5 in the morning, and I'd be starting work at 7. After a few weeks on the job, we'd sneak over to the fish pier, which is right over here, and I might have a beer at lunch. Then I'd have 2. Then I'd have 6. And then the progression of alcohol and drugs. This disease that we're talking about today is a disease of progression. There are people here today that are standing here that just might be starting your journey with drugs or alcohol. You might think, I'm not that bad. I haven't lost a family member, I haven't done this, I haven't done that, but it's a disease of progression. As George said, George didn't wake up one day and start putting a needle in his arm shooting heroin. He started drinking beers in the corner, up the woods, wherever it was, and that disease took him to weed and to coke and to everything else, to pills, to heroin, to ripping everything away from you. This is a disease of taking from you. Those of you that are here today that are in recovery or struggling, when you go home and you look in your face of your wife and your kids and they don't want to see you, they love you. It's the person you bring in when you drink or drug. That's the person they don't want to see. The person that are out here today thinking that we're all full of it, that's okay. You can think I'm full of it all you want. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't bother me today, but if you need help, we're there for you. We usually talk to young people about addiction and how do we try and explain to young people what addiction is and where it takes you. And sometimes they laugh and they smirk and they're really not ready for it. You're not young people. You're adults. You've gone through life. For me personally, when I needed to make that phone call, my union, the laborers, had a members assistance program. I had it all figured out. I wasn't going to go to detox. I was going to talk to a counselor. I was going to go to AA, see a counselor in a few months after the heat's off, go back to what I want to do. When I called that number, a guy answered the phone, and he asked me some questions. He asked me 10 questions, and I passed the test. And it's one of the only tests that I passed first time around. And he said, you're an alcoholic, I think. But what I'd like to do is bring you to Gosnell inpatient. And when I heard the words inpatient, I said, whoa, what do you mean, like stay over? And he said, yes, and I tried to get out of it. And he said, why can't you do it? I said, because I coach Little League. Because I wasn't ready to surrender to the disease of alcoholism. I wasn't ready to admit, even though every part of my body knew I was an alcoholic and knew my life was out of control, my life was unmanageable, and I was hurting people, I just didn't want to do that. And I went into detox, and I was there for a week, and I thought my life was over. I'm like, what am I going to do now? Because my friends are at the Hot and Bod, my friends are at Foley's, my friends are at the Knights of Columbus, my friends are all the places that I love to go to. And my bartenders would miss me. And the first night I was there, a guy came in, he talked about his experience, strength, and hope about addiction. And I can't really remember what he said, but he hooked me, because I knew that particular day there was hope, and my mind started to change. And when I left there, I joined a group, as George talked about. I got a sponsor. I got down on my knees and I asked God for help. I asked God to remove the desire for a drink in my body. And I said drug too, because the drug for me is yet. A year and a half later, I thought my life was over in detox. A year and a half later, I was on the ballot running for state representative in Dorchester, a dream that I always wanted. And I was fortunate enough to win that race. And for 16 years, I had a chance to work at the State House on a whole bunch of great issues, including recovery issues, and was able to get my number out to somebody that needed to get into a program. In January 6, 2014, I got sworn in as mayor of Boston. I talk about this, and this is the true story. I'm sitting on the stage at Boston College. I'm looking out, and I'm thinking about my journey to that point in my life. It's not a straight line. It's a crooked line. Life's not a straight line. Stuff happens. As mayor of the last 5 years, I've had some incredible days, I've had some tough days. Later on today, the press is going to grab me and ask me a million questions about things I don't want to talk about. But you know what? I live my life a day at a time. And I know by the end of the day, if we're able to help one person, we did our job, regardless of what's going on in life. What's amazing to me today is that the building trades have taken this up, and the crowd that's here today, because this would not have happened 30 years ago on a job site. There's no way this would happen, and there were people in recovery 30 years ago. And 30 years ago on a job site, if you opened up a brochure and you wanted to see where to go for help, you might see one or two unions that might have a program. Every single trades union has a program today. Whether it's their own internal program or modern assistance or other programs, they have a program today. These programs are for you, anyone, family members, that thinks their life is over. I guarantee you this one thing. Anyone who thinks that they have to drink a drug, or family member who have to drink a drug, and if recovery is going to be, going to drink coffee in these halls all the time, they have no idea that their life is just beginning. As we all say, I think George will say this, Sean will say this, I'll say this, there's a lot of people in recovery on this job site I can see. We all have a life second to none today because we're in recovery. That doesn't mean that we don't have challenges, as I said earlier. It just means that there's an opportunity. The building trades, construction is hit harder than any other industry when it comes to addiction. Why? Because you have injuries. Some guys break their back or break an ankle and they take pills for the pain. Some guys think they break their back or break their ankle and they take pills for the pain because they want to drown out the other pain, not the physical pain, the mental pain that's inside of them. This industry has a lot of demands on your body. I know that. I know that from my own family's experience. Watching people work on this. Myself working with guys for years and years and years and seeing the toll it took on the body. That's why the building trade stepping up today talking about this issue is so important. It's important not to ignore the issue. In the labor community, we're a group, this union and the building trades, it's about solidarity. When something happens to somebody on the job site where there's a loss, I know you passed the hat, and everyone puts money in the hat regardless of who the person was, whether you like them or not, for the family. I know when there's issues on the job where it's jurisdictional disputes, I know that everyone comes together to work together. Why shouldn't we do the same thing when it comes to addiction? When you see one of your brothers or sisters on the job struggling, why not reach out to somebody on the job who's in recovery to say, can we try and help this person get into recovery? Because that's what this program is all about. It's about leaning on each other. It's about helping each other. And that's what you've done as the trades your entire existence, is support each other and lean on each other. Stigma. Well, if you're worried about stigma today, you have the business manager of the ironworkers telling you he's a drug addict, alcoholic. You have a labor steward saying he's a drug addict, alcoholic. You have a mayor saying he's an alcoholic. I mean, I don't know what you have to worry about stigma. Don't worry about stigma. It's not an issue as far as I'm concerned. We're proud of the fact, if you are struggling today and you go for help, I'm proud of you for doing that. Because it takes more courage to do that than not do anything about it. September is National Recovery Month. We all have roles to play in this. And another thing I just want to say real quickly, a lot of hands went up when I think Tom asked if anyone lost somebody to this addiction. The hands that didn't go up, does anyone here know somebody struggling with alcoholic or drug addiction problems? Raise your hand. Almost the entire job site. And those of you that didn't raise your hands, think a little bit about it. Think a little bit about your family. Look back and see the uncle at the party that falls asleep or gets drunk or whatever at the thing. That person's an alcoholic. We need to continue to work to make sure that we do reaching our hands out so people can get programs. In the city, just like the trades, we've expanded access to life-saving resources. If you live in the city of Boston or you don't, and you don't know where to turn to, and you're afraid to call your program, member assistance program, which is not going to tell your business agent, by the way, call 311. We set up a system inside the city to help people get into programs and treatments. If you're struggling with a kid, you don't know what to do with them, call 311. We will help you. We'll connect you to counseling. We need to make sure that we look out for our friends and our coworkers on the job site during this month and every month. We need to make sure people understand there's hope in recovery for rebuilding your life. The problems won't, I can guarantee you this, the problems will go away. They may not go away instantly, but over time they'll go away and they'll get easier. And I just want to end with thanking everyone that's out here today. I want to thank the building trades. I want to thank the Employee Association. I want to thank Brian Doherty. I want to thank everyone here today. This is incredible. This is the second time now that I've been at an action in the course of the last 6 months. Last time I was on a job site. It was across the street, and my cousin spoke. And what he said was, kind of off the cuff, he said, anyone who wants to go to treatment, make sure you contact your steward today. And the day he said that, 3 people that day contacted their steward to tell them they have a problem with drugs or alcohol. 3 people that day, I'm not sure where they are today, 3 people that day could have turned their life around and set them on a pathway, a life that they'll never understand how great it is. So I'm taking Marty's words today. If there's anyone struggling today on this job site, grab somebody, let them know you're struggling. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. Because I had to do it, George had to do it, Sean had to do it, and about 100 other people that I'm looking at on this job site today had to take that first step. And that first step is asking for help. Thank you. God bless you.
On behalf of the building trades, I'd like everyone to thank everyone for their time today, especially the speakers for sharing your personal stories and struggles with this terrible disease. I encourage everyone again to grab one of these pamphlets and any of the information on the tables that's been provided. If today's stand down helps save one person, it was worth all the effort. Thank you for your time today.